Get off that phone and let me snore first. Sure.
We want to thank all of you for participating and for producing such good artwork. It makes us feel good to be able to come here and to see such nice things being done. We hope that maybe these will be things that you'll want to do in the future when we leave, or maybe we can come back and some of our artists come back and do more again. And you might let Donna and Tammy, people know, Neil know, if you did enjoy doing it. Let them know, or let them know if there are other art forms you'd like to get a chance to try. I don't know if I mentioned dance in terms of the arts that we did, but dance is, of course, another one. We're a statewide organization, but of course, we're based here in Missoula and do a lot of things here as well.
My name's Lee, and I was working with people here at Riverside and from some other locations here in the western part of the state on oral histories. And we were lucky enough to have 15 sixth graders from Washington School come in and actually collect the stories. They did a wonderful job, and they really pulled out some very special sort of gem-like stories from the interviews that they did. I'll talk a little bit about collecting oral histories after I read a few of the stories that came out of this. I wanted to read one about Zilpha Billman, who told a story about raising an owl that her father found. My dad would help clear fields of straw. Then he would put the straw in bundles. He would burn the straw because there was no use for it. One time he was about to burn a bundle of straw, and he found an owl in it. He brought this owl home and gave it to me. I fed him by filling gopher holes with water. The gopher would come up and I would slap him. Then I would bring it home and cut it into small chunks to feed my owl. This is Zilpha. We had some photographs that are not reproduced as well as they might be, but we wanted to give an idea of who these people were that told these amazing stories. The one I wanted to read to you was told by Ira Carnes, who's a resident here. I actually did this interview with him, and Ira says that he loves to travel. He describes himself as a born rambler and says he's traveled the West by foot, car, and bus. He and his wife raised their 2 daughters at the Carnes Ranch 2 miles south of Immigrant, Montana, before moving on to the West Fork of the Bitterroot, where this story takes place. And this is called Cattle Rustling in the Bitterroot. We came over to the West Fork of the Bitterroot and bought a little ranch there, right across from the first schoolhouse on the West Fork. A beautiful little place. We all loved it. It was a natural stock ranch, and I took 80 head of cattle with me and some horses. But come to find out, along with being a beautiful place, it was the heart and soul, as the forest ranger told me, of cattle rustling. They built a brush corral and put the 80 head of cattle with calves in that brush corral and was all ready to load it up when I came out onto the range. I had a .30-30 rifle with me, and I realized something was wrong, but the cattle, none of them were in sight. I stayed there all night and watched the roads. I intended to stop any truck that came that way, even if I had to shoot the tires out. Along about daylight, I heard a cow bawl, and I very carefully made my way towards where it was bawling. And about that time, here they come, 80 head of cattle out on the highway. The truck had ducked out on a back road somewhere. I never did find out where. I moved the cattle down to the place we had bought and put them in back of it. Well, one of our dear neighbors, come to find out, had a fast foot in hand. He stole 2 cows and 2 calves, big fat calves. A ranger told me, "You gotta get out of there or they'll take everything you got." And so we drove them up onto the flathead, and there bought the feed for them and settled down for the winter. Oh, great. Okay, and then finally I wanted to read Fred's story about wolverines. And for those of you that don't already know Fred, this is Fred over here. I'm going to read your story, Fred. Is that all right? Okay. Some of these stories have very surprise endings. When I was 5 or 6 years old, I used to love playing with the chickens on our ranch up Lolo Creek. Well, for a couple of weeks, people had been talking about wolverines in the area. I had no idea what a wolverine looked like or what one was. One day, I went over to the chicken coop to see what those chickens were up to. I opened the chicken house door, and there, standing in the middle of the shed, was a black and red animal clawing and making noise. I slammed the door and ran back home with my big sister. "There's a wolverine in the chicken coop," I told her. "No, there's not," she said. "Come on." And she grabbed my arm and took me back to the chicken coop. We opened the door, and there was the animal, growling and clawing. "My God, you're right," she said. A year later, I found out the animal in the shed was my little sister with two big red and black coats on. My big sister had known it was her the whole time. And I just wanted to talk a little bit about how we put together this workshop. As I said, we were really lucky to have 6th graders from Washington School who had already been here visiting with some of the residents before to help collect these oral histories. They visited 3 times, including today, so they used 2 of the 45-minute sections to collect their stories. It would have been nice to have a little bit more time, but we found that we were able to work within this length of time, especially, I think, since they had been here. Also, it's good when you're doing this to have consistency with the residents that are participating also, to bring the same residents back if possible to be interviewed more than once, because sometimes you need a little time to sort of break the ice, and the better you get to know somebody, the richer the stories will ultimately come out to be. We talked a little bit as a group about the kinds of stories that might be interesting, childhood stories and stories about work and what people did in their spare time. We heard a lot of bear stories and stories about other encounters with wildlife. I think that was a very popular topic too. And also stories about historical events. The first day of this workshop was January 15th, and I think the children were very interested to hear about how other people have dealt with war experiences, and we have some stories about those experiences in this book too. But you sort of have to play it by ear as to what the person is interested in talking about. We found that by just generating a list of questions and reading those questions, you're likely to get yes or no answers, and you have to get them involved in other kinds of ways, maybe by telling stories about ourselves first and then letting them top our story with their own story. Every student had access to a tape recorder, and they actually taped the interviews. And when the students were transcribing, it was important to tell them not to try to write down the whole interview, but look for the most interesting parts of the interview and come out with these little short stories that come out of the longer interviews. And it's best to ask the students, I think, to try to use the voice of the person that they were interviewing, write their stories in the first person as they were actually spoken. And then we get more of a sense of the way people talked and of their personality that way. Some students did choose to use the third person, tell it from the vantage point of maybe he or she, and that was fine too. And also, it's nice to produce a book like this at the end. I think it's a historical document now that we have here, and that we'll want to hang on to these and read them in the future. But I think the most important is the process of this, of actually interacting and talking with people. So are there any questions about doing an oral history workshop that I can help you with? I'd be happy to talk with anyone afterwards too if they're interested in doing this kind of a workshop. So, thank you.
Amy Werner, who's been working with the pottery and ceramics tiles the last few weeks.
For those of you that don't know me, I'm Mimi, and I come from Polson, up in the Flathead Valley. I've worked this session and 2 weeks earlier making tiles. And a lot of you in here participated in making some of these tiles. I worked primarily in a couple different ways with the tile and found out what worked with people and what didn't work. I think the key was, for me, is to keep the clay soft. And that was the real difference between working with the kids that I worked with a couple years ago in the special arts program, because keeping the clay soft and moist was almost like a ticket for disaster with them, like to overuse the water. So that was a change that I found necessary today to make from 2 weeks ago, is to have softer clay, because of the seniors, elderly people, with your hands, you aren't as mobile. And so I think that a lot of people I saw benefit just using fingers. Just using fingers, using your palms of your hands, pinching pots. We not only did tiles and impressed materials, but when we got tired and had made a few tiles, we worked on pinching pots. And that turned out to be a really rewarding activity for a lot of people. Some of the people came into the sessions with a lot of resistance. I can't do that, I'm not an artist. Wow, I did that. So that was real encouraging for me, and I'm especially glad to see that the pieces are fired, because they can be now combined into a whole piece. And that's one thing nice about tiles, either people can take them home or hang them in their room, or they can be combined as a mural, which is kind of a nice way to celebrate our creativity together as we work in groups. Another thing I would like to stress, as I see some of the other workers here that are interested in doing more ceramic work, is that with the soft clay, anything goes. You can use virtually anything for impressing materials. That includes going for visits. As I was telling Janet earlier in the week, it's one of my favorite things to do is go to the craft stores and just look at stuff that could be pressed into clay. We used, I want to give you a few examples. We used a lot of plastic doilies that make good impressions. You can also use cloth doilies, old tablecloths, crochet tablecloths work just fine. I took just pieces, scraps of fabric. Endless ideas. Old screening, window screen works fine. I've got a collection of dental tools. American Dental is in town, and I don't see why they wouldn't be ever interested in donating tools for people to use in ceramic projects. I think that was a really good lesson for a lot of people, learning how to control the tool and seeing what it can do for you, what kind of line it can make. Developing a pattern. Today we worked on developing the textures on clay. So we started with painting, controlling the paintbrush and painting a black surface, and then coming back and carving out different textures and patterns through that black surface. And that seemed to work really well too. Back to tools. Simple doweling can be used for rollers cut up. A lot of this stuff is really, really simple equipment. The beauty parlor might supply you with old squeeze bottles that they use for permanence. These make great glaze trailers. They're really fun for trying to control, again, this movement of the hands. This is the old mustard bottle, again, that can be filled with clay and squeeze. Kids especially have a lot of fun with this stuff. I know, do I? Trying to think what else. Sponges. I'm really a scrounger, so I can't emphasize enough things with patterns on them. These are old, these things that you get your fish or meat in the supermarkets. These can be used and rolled out for patterns. So there's endless right? Another good thing are some of these kitchen rollers that you'll find in specialty shops for making special designs on doughs and stuff. Sewing instruments and little sewing wheels are good to use. And cookie cutters, of course, are a good one. A lot of this stuff is just, as I found, was just real important for getting people to use their hands, and thinking creatively, developing patterns, using tools and controlling them. And I don't know if there's any questions. I don't know what more I can tell you.
Thanks, baby.
We're just going to show a little of a videotape that Will Cowdery did for us. And the section where it's keyed up to right now is from one of the dance workshops that Karen Kaufman did. So I think some of you, if you were in that class, you may enjoy seeing yourselves dancing and moving around in the tape. And I haven't seen a lot of this yet, so we'll just kind of watch it for a while and see what happens.
Ready? Are we ready?
Her name's Annie. You want to do myself? Okay.
We'll be holding on to a piece of plastic, which is...
Yeah, do you remember that? Big parachute. Yes, they did. It was fun, wasn't it?
People who are in the chairs can hold on to a plastic, and as you're being pushed around, you can move your arms and your back and your body, and we'll fill up the room with these, with the wind.
Yeah, yes.
We don't, you can just go like this, you don't have to be.
You want to try to make one of those floats?
Wait, how do you do?
Oh, just move it. We'll go get one.
Hey, go ahead, what's in there?
You can move it all around.
There, okay, right there.
Okay. Hang on, this in here. This in here. This in here. If you kind of move your arms, it kind of floats.
You can have one too.
There. Not as good as the parachute, though, huh? Now, maybe if we go up and down, but very good. Now, let's see. You hold on one side, I'll hold on one side. We'll see what we can do. Well, we can wait for the music. Raise it up high. Can you? Here we go. This is your sore arm. You fell down.
it with you.
Sure.
Okay, are you ready? And bring the dance to a close. Music fades. Good job. And now Janet comes out of her shape, and she gets to mold me, and I've suddenly become a lump of clay. And so it's a way of taking turns.
And then you stand up. You're just supposed to just put your hand.
Okay, then she would take my shape.
So I don't want to give you too high.
Right, you would have to move your hand. And then it would be my turn. Good, thank you. Okay, so when you hear the music start, would you begin to mold your partner into any kind of a shape that you would like to be?
I'm supposed to move you in any shape I can. So don't be surprised. This is the object of the game.
Now, when I put your hand there, you leave it there. And I'm going to move something else.
I heard you. Tell me. Penny.
Very still. Now, you just feel slower. Move very slowly.
That's good. Now, go down. you sure are good. You don't look like you are. I have more lines than you do.
Did you do such a trick thing where you make it new one?
This is a nice shell. Take this and press it in the clay.
Make a shell,
This
shape,
end
maybe on your next tile.
What's
And try that.
sand?
You can make a pattern. Put it down where you want.
Oh, that's so appropriate. Kind of like a little animal. And this one, I'm not sure what this one is. Yeah, this one's got a really fancy print.
Nice looking.
How are you? Looking good.
I didn't.
That's neat. You could put a nice border on your fish tie. You want to try that? Yeah. You could interchange all these different shells. Martha, you ready for a new one? Oh, that's pretty. You want to? Oh, that's neat. You want to try another tile? Okay, good.
Copy going this way.
That's okay.
Are you interested in these things at all? Pressing, making an imprint in your clay? Okay.
That's kind of neat, isn't it?
Maybe I'll get more time.
It's okay. Hi.
Yeah, just grab a Here you go.
I think she's done with this one.
All right, I'll put it on the. Yeah, I like this right here.
Isn't that pretty?
Yeah. Wow. And what'd you
Oh,
use
that
to
was
get
terrible.
this pattern?
I was so late for,
Don't even talking about it.
This one.
I've been kind of disorganized.
Good job.
So I sometimes
Okay, what you
drive.
gonna make this time?
And
You've been getting
and I
away with
take
it.
it, yeah, see, I roulette with my car.
How about putting a flower or something on it?
You won't see it
Would you
again.
like that?
No.
Anyways,
How about a new tile, or we'll
put it there.
Hey, you wanna try
push
another
real
tile?
That's
hard
right.
with your hand. Push
Yeah.
real
You
hard.
want to try one more?
Real hard. Oh. Oh, let's do it again. When you get caught. One more in this side.
Wow.
Now,
Squish them in there,
Oh,
yeah.
okay.
No, look, it's like a
see
fossil.
the flower?
You know, like
Isn't
if
that
that was
pretty?
in rock, there was a fish in
Now,
rock.
let's get,
So if you want to, you can test.
how
each.
about if you
any of these
take this and just push it all around and see what you get.
This at all? Would you like to try this one at all?
Oh, did I not cover
A
the
little harder. No, I can't. I'll show you what. Little
Design
harder.
in there?
See? Isn't that pretty?
Are you going to do fire?
There you go. Ow! Oh, did it poke you?
Where do you take them?
Oh my goodness, that's fine.
They have a kiln?
Oh, maybe there's a sharp edge on it somewhere. Does it? Maybe it does, right there. Are you okay? Okay.
Okay, and this is
You're
your
all
new
right.
tile.
Okay, good.
I kind of wet it so it's a neat easier to press it.
You want to try it again?
Punched in to your other one.
Oh, that's good.
Would you like another one, Zelda?
Yeah, I might try it. I don't know what kind of a mess I can make.
She said this one's bitter.
Oh, we have bitter. Oh,
You can carve out
We're not going to use that one anymore.
Neat! Wow! Good job. Now what are you going to put on
Watch,
there?
there's some hearts. We're going to make some hearts
What
on
would be
there.
a good pattern to go with that?
How about down the side?
Let's try, this has got lots of holes in it.
Push hard. Push hard.
Yeah.
There. All right. There
You're
you
so
go.
strong, Kara. You're
Oh,
really
that's
good for
pretty.
this.
See that?
It's all, the
Okay.
landlords are just.
Okay.
That's a wild
See?
pattern.
You see
see all those Do you like that one? Yeah. Yeah? Yeah, look. Try a seashell. Like this. To kind of rock it. Okay.
I like laying on the floor and I mean, it's a very different feeling than an ugly apartment. You know, that you just can't.
We have some more stamps. It reminds you of a wing on a bird or something. Huh? Isn't that pretty?
Yeah.
Do some more.
And it was orange. And I don't like wood in orange. This other one's blue.
Yeah, look at you. I don't know what that is, but it looks neat.
Everything.
Dreams I see the road leads back to you. Georgia, oh Georgia, no peace I find, just an old sweet song keeps Georgia on my mind. Just an old sweet song keeps Georgia on my mind. Sure.
What is it? Name that tune. Anybody recognize? I have a guess too.
It's time to play Stop the Band. And what is your prize, Don Pardo? Well, down in the valley is so low. Hang your head over, hear the wind blow. Hear the wind blow, hear the wind blow. And get my breath. Hang your head over, hear the wind blow. Violets love sun. Cincinnati and I walked around the block and I walked right into a donut shop. I pulled a donut out of the grease and I handed the lady a 5-cent piece. She looked at the nickel and looked at me. Said, this nickel's no good, you see. There's a hole in the middle, goes all the way through. Says I, there's a hole in the donut too. Turkey in the hay, turkey and straw. Oh, the old green beer won't eat our haw, so we'll hit her up to go turkey and straw. Fishing on a sunny day. With all the little fish go swimming around the bay with their hands in the pockets and the pockets in the pants. All the little fishes do the hoochie coochie dance. Turkey in the hay, turkey and straw. Oh, the old green bear won't eat nor haw, so we'll hit her up to go turkey and straw. Come to a river and couldn't get across. Paid $5 for an old gray horse. She couldn't go forward and she wouldn't stand still. She went up and down like an old sawmill. Turkey in the hay, turkey and straw. Oh, the old green deer won't eat nor haw, so we'll hit her up to go turkey and straw. What do I do? Little chicken and she wouldn't lay an egg, so I poured hot water up and down her leg. What the little chicken squawked, the little chicken begged. The little chicken laid a hard-boiled egg. Turkey and hay, turkey and straw. Oh, the old green bear won't eat nor haw, so we'll hit her up to go turkey and straw. You want to, sure. Oh, this is one everybody can sing along, then I'm sure all of you remember this one. A song I wrote back in 1949 when I was working under the name of Beauty Ledbetter.
No breakdance.
No moonwalks either. Well, sometimes I live in the country, and sometimes I live in town, and sometimes I take a great notion just to jump in the river and drown. It's Irene, good night. Irene, good night. Good night, Irene, good night, Irene. I'll see you in my dreams. Last Saturday night I got married. Well, me and my wife settled down. Now me and my wife, we are parted. We're going to take another walk downtown. Charlie, here I come. Irene, good night. Irene, good night. Good night, Irene. Good night, Irene. I'll see you in my dreams. Stop your rambling, stop your gambling, stop staying out late at night. Go home to your wife and your family. Stay there by the fireside bright. It's Irene, good night. Irene, good night. Good night, Irene, good night. Irene. Well, sometimes Irene wears pajamas. Sometimes she wears an old nightgown. But the nights that Irene, she wears nothing at all. Well, you know, then she's the talk of the town. Well, it's
presentation.
It's on.
It's on.
Yeah, okay. But why don't you just tell me about the program? And
Well, basically what it is, it's a program that's started by Very Special Arts, providing the artist to come out and teach health professionals how to use arts with senior citizens out here in the Riverside. And then we brought in about 30, I think, that came in from different facilities to be trained, and some of those brought their own clients in from their residents. And we just tried to move them around so that each one had the experience of working in each medium.
And it was 5 weeks long?
5 weeks long.
okay, so you did what? Painting, right?
Painting was the first one with Ernie Pepion. The second one was dance with Karen Kaufman. The third one was
Literary arts.
literary arts with Lee Evans.
Uh-huh.
And music with Ellie Nuno. And Mark Ross.
Ceramics
And
with
ceramics.
Mimi
Warner. Yeah.
Okay.
And so each time we had two different medias that they could work in, and we would just rotate them. And then today there was all 4 of them going on, so that they got experience in each one. Hopefully, some of them I'm sure didn't because of their capabilities. And this is the result of some of the ceramics that they did. And Tammy fired these the first time after the residents made them, and then
they went through and painted them all too. Our residents here went through and painted all of them.
Glazed them all, and then she
Got
fired them
ready.
again. And then these are the ones that this is what they look like when they're started with the raw clay, and they incised in those with different instruments.
In front of you there.
Okay. Incised in them, or they did slip trailing, where they put slip in a jar and squeeze jar and just trail it around and make a design out of it. They used forks, they used leaves, they used
dental instruments and
just about anything.
all kinds of things.
That can be used to make your patterns.
Yeah. Doilies.
Okay.
And then why don't you tell them a little bit about the stories of what they did?
Well, we had the 6th grade class from Washington School came out, and they did interviews with all the residents and asked some stories about their lives, and then they wrote it up, made books, decorated the books and everything, and
some with pictures.
And they'll have pictures of them on the page that they wrote about, from anything hunting to all kinds of things about their life, and they put it all in a book and got it ready.
And then the music ones, after they played and sang to them, then we distributed instruments, and then they would get right in with them and play the rhythm instruments with the resident or with the instructors. And so that got them involved in that activity, which was a little bit harder at some times because we had people in there who were less capable of doing things like art, and so it was harder for them to move, but they really got into it. We have a lot of them here that are very musical. That's amazing. That Cookie, for one, just really gets into music. And then the dance, they used the same way with the dance. We had wheelchair dancing, and we had dancing with
Everybody
scarves.
was involved, plastic or scarves, or they wheeled around carpet. Carpet was on the floor, and they'd wheel around in different directions and get everybody going, and it was really
And then
neat.
this afternoon, after she'd done all of that, then she put on some real soft music, and we did massage with them. And that was amazing how it did for some of the clients, how it just calmed them down, and you could just feel it when you were massaging their back, and how much they just let loose of all this stuff where they're all tensed up. So I think that's something that Tammy and I can work in here, don't you think?
Yeah,
Especially when we
that's
see,
amazing.
I think
as
it's
tired as you see people, they're not relaxed.
And
they're
sometimes I
tense.
think when people get fussed up around here, if we went over and tried that technique and taught maybe got some of the nurses to do that, nurses' aides, just gentle massage.
Just rubbing the arms or the legs.
good. He's good.
We all need exercise.
Hurry back. Just set it down,
Just show some of the work.
Some of these are, they had placed the crystals in here too that explode, and you don't know what they look like till they come out of the kiln. So it was kind of exciting getting those out.
It's pretty neat.
Isn't that neat?
Those, yeah. There was quite a few.
And now that they've tried that, I think they'll find they're going to want to do more. And then we have the molds and the things that have been donated, some green, what they call greenware have been donated.
So
and
this is all donated so we can continue?
So we'll start working on those too, and that we will help us for our Easter Bazaar that we're going to have.
So you can continue on and you guys.
Oh, this will go
yes,
on.
we'll
Yeah.
try to continue.
In
this
fact,
on.
we do it weekly now.
Yeah, we have a volunteer that comes and helps on Fridays to do ceramics, so that's going to be great.
Yeah.
And we're going to try to get a couple other volunteers.
And then the painting's all involved in that too. They do a lot of painting and sculpting and all kinds of stuff on that
So
stuff.
this is kind of like for their self-esteem and.
Oh, yes.
And
And helps their ability to move their fingers and use their hands and encourages them. They see they can do something, they start
saying
trying a
they
little
can't
harder.
do it, they can't do it, and they can do it. They did it.
sort of stimulates their mind and their.
Oh, yes. There was a
Attitude.
couple
Does
of
a lot for
that
self-esteem.
it really does. A couple who kept just saying no, they couldn't do it and have gotten their one hand up there and really going to town.
Now, whose idea was this?
It was my idea, I guess, because I'd worked with the Very Special Arts before, and I saw it was always for programs with the handicapped, like Opportunity Workshop Big Bears, what we did, we went all over the state with Very Special Arts. Well, I saw no reason it couldn't be with our senior citizens. It just, to me, seemed like an ideal thing. So I called Ron Ray, who was the director of the Very Special Arts at this time, and asked him if he'd ever considered it. And he liked the idea, so he came out and met with Neil and I, and we talked it over, and then the different places got together and put the money together to hire the artists, because these are professional artists who make their living teaching. And so we hired them to come out and put this workshop on. Part of the money came out of a grant out of the university for senior citizens, and part of it came from Ron Ray himself, part of it came from ours, some came from St. Pat's community. And so we put it all together to do this.
What's
32?
We do a lot of cutting.
okay, it's on.
Okay, let's.
Yeah, I was just going to ask you, Ron, what was your interpretation of what you saw happening with the residents here?
Well,
I've been watching different groups and watching the reactions, and it's always different, you know, the beat workshops and these workshops. I was interested to see some of the residents who would be doing nothing, I mean, nothing with their bodies, nothing physically, saying very little, maybe falling asleep, and then getting involved. And I think I believe I saw it in all the disciplines. The dance asked more of them, so for them literally to be moving around, moving their arms was really striking. And but also in music, to watch the animation on their faces, to watch them give requests, to when Karen passed out the rhythm instruments toward the end, to see them getting involved with the music in that way. All those things to see from a kind of a level of looking,
very passive,
you know, to really being involved with life, and it was really exciting. And you know, the more I'm involved with this work, you see the kids, you see the older people, and it's always exciting. So you seem to be going on here, and then there are things like Tammy mentioned to me, one of the residents who wouldn't feed herself, as I understand, and then after that first day of workshops, particularly after that,
is she still doing it now?
Yeah.
She still is?
Did wonderful today.
Is that right?
She was doing it by herself to the music. She was shaking her hand and everything, going right to it.
And when I talked to her, showed her on the TV, first she reached over to me, she said, there you are. And I said, there you are, and she just grinned at me. You know, but it's fun for them to see themselves on there.
One of the things that I noticed is the interaction with the people that came from the community, from the group homes, how they even got kind of going with some of our people that live here at Riverside, and just getting different people up here to visit with, even just the socialization, even if there was no music, you get just different people and to talk to and do stuff with.
Strange, it was, at first it was kind of quiet, and then like today at the end of the workshop, everybody was visiting and back and forth, and the residents
come
and
see this
the staff and everybody.
So it probably wouldn't hurt to bring some of the people, if they want to come over from group homes, just to come over and visit, because I think some of them and I know that one young girl today from the school, the school kids, she forgot her permission slip. And they said, well, I'm sorry, you're just going to have to forget it. And she just, tears welled up. And I said, no, we'll work something out. So I went and found the principal, and I said, is it okay if she comes with? And, oh, yeah, let her go. You know, so it was just, they liked coming over.
Those kids were wonderful with the older people. I never had those kinds of experiences when I was a kid with grandparents or anything. I didn't have any; they were all gone. But so I kind of marveled at it and watched them.
See, that's why I got, this is maybe not on tape, but that's why I got interested in this business, because my dad is so terribly much older than I am. He's 80-something. And he used to sit up at our gas station, and all these old guys would sit around and tell all these stories, like Fred and all these guys were telling about the bootlegging days and the thrashing bees and all that stuff. And that's why I got into this, because they're so fun to do.
That's wonderful, yeah.
But I just think I think we can expand, we can develop like our ceramics program now. Instead of trying to get so much stuff in this short period, you can develop it over a
Well, it's like a pilot program, right?
Oh,
So
yeah,
now we can
we
just
learned
continue.
a lot.
That's good. We'll just show some more of the work while we're here.
Okay. Different tiles. I don't know if there's. Grab a couple of these. They just turned out really neat.
I think they did.
Yeah, they really did.
Let's see.
And that these tiles are going to make into a picture for a wall. And probably we've got so many tiles now, we might have to put.
We're gonna make a couple of them.
Yeah, because
couple
it'll be
different
too heavy
pictures.
otherwise.
Maybe like a framework and hold it.
They'll be framed and they'll be.
We're gonna mortar them together and hang them on display for everybody. Probably along with a lot of the pictures that we took during the people working on them and all the residents in here.
And then this one's kind of a little different, where they've added cutouts of clay on top of the clay tile to give it a two-dimensional look.
And this is some of the stuff they worked on today. It's painted when after it's fired, it's glazed in a black. And then everything sketched in there will be different, will be the clay color, and then the top will be all in black.
Oh, that's kind of neat.
It's called sgraffito work. I don't know who did it, but I bet they'll be excited when they see it, because I think that'll be...
And you have your own kiln here now, too, don't you?
Yeah, we do.
We have a very nice kiln.
that's nice.
designs and works.
So we'll be firing all the ones we did today and putting those out too. We'll have those all on display too for everybody who wants to see what they did.
And then they'll, after she fires them this time, then they'll have to be painted again by our residents and then fired again.
This is something that could be continuing process.
Oh, yeah.
You could just keep making tiles.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm, sure can. These they can take in their room and for coffee cup. We could sell some of those in our bazaar.
I would think if
Or-
somebody wanted to start a program like this in its nursing home, say anywhere, they could probably hook up with an elementary school teacher that does stuff like this.
Oh, yeah.
Yes.
Because I know a lot of these projects are things that.
Well, there's
kids
a lot
in
of people
school
who
that-
like to work with it anyway that would probably come in and just help because it's fun. I mean, it's fun to do.
The hardest part, Jack, is getting people into the nursing home. And I was just talking to a fellow here that's the ombudsman for the senior citizens, and it's because they see themselves in a nursing home. Most of the retired people are, older, and they're scared to come in here because they see themselves here, and that's why it's hard to get volunteers. He said he's been going around talking, and he said, you're absolutely right. When I told him that's what I thought was part of the problem, and he said, I get that all the time. He said, and I go to all the nursing homes here in town, and that's what I get when I work with groups. But he said, I tell them there's 10,000 people in Missoula that are from 65 to 85 years old. There's 500 of them in health facilities like this. So your chances it's very small amount. When you stop and think of that and look at it in those terms.
Look at George Burns, he's 95.
Yeah, and I think my point is if they come out here and work with them, they will see how they can take better care of themselves, and so that they don't have to be. Part of it is being active. It has been proven that people who volunteer when they're senior citizens live longer, live healthier lives, live better quality lives, just because of being active and taking an interest in things. It's when you don't take an interest that you end up getting to be a couch potato.
And that's how this helps the residents.
Sure, absolutely.
It helps a lot having the public in, having different people come in and see how a lot of them can't get out very often. So when people come in, it makes a huge difference.
It really does.
And besides this, you had a writer's workshop where they actually
We have the
wrote
books
poetry.
made up.
And then the oral history was separate from the writing?
No, that was part of the writing.
Yeah.
But there was there was oral history plus people actually wrote stories and
Right.
poems and things.
On the they took the oral histories and put them on cassette tapes. They tape recorded them and then wrote the stories out and printed them up.
And then
Right.
Took the pictures.
teacher would help them edit them and tell them how they could go back to that resident and ask a few more questions or clarify things or, to make the story a little bit better. And that was a real wonderful thing for the school kids too.
We could still do that here
Oh, sure.
on an ongoing basis.
I think the kids were excited to come out, and I know they looked for some of the same residents that they got attached
Yeah,
to.
they really
they
did.
wanted to
They wanted to see.
do the same ones. So
That's nice. Guys, have anything else you'd like
No,
to add? A couple of-
nothing.
I don't think so.
This lasted for 5 weeks. I'm sure you guys got as much out of it as
Oh, we did.
the
I'm
residents, if
sure we
not
did.
more.
Yeah. I think it's given us both lots of ideas of things that we can expand on and do. And the dance that Karen did with the parachute, I didn't know until I said something to Tammy, we have a parachute here. A bright, colorful one. We can do that again. And it's a matter of trying to get some volunteers to help because when you use that parachute, it takes a lot of people.
Yeah.
And Ernie Pepion, who was not able to be here today, he's an artist in Bozeman. He's the one that helped them do all the paintings that we have. And, yeah.
I'm gonna hold one up. I don't know.
Oops, this is a small one. Yeah, a couple of them.
Tell them we'll change it when you... And these were people who started out, Jack, being afraid to pick up a paintbrush for the most part.
And it's just freehand drawing. They drew whatever came to their mind. They
Yeah.
just.
Well, that's interesting. That Betty's there, I see. And
And this one is...
Inez Brown.
Inez Brown.
All right.
And then this is Ella Whalett and Goldie Shaws.
I'll leave it on for a while. And then
And
all right.
then this one is Gladys Randberg, and of course Gladys is was an artist.
I could tell.
Yes, and was very reluctant to get back into it because she thought she couldn't do it. And Ernie talked to her and showed her, yes, she could still do it. And she's been very excited about doing most anything since then.
She's getting her own things out now. She has her own paintbrushes and paints, and she's going to be working on some paintings for us here at Riverside, doing some
All
paintings.
right.
Isn't that great?
That's
And she
wonderful.
really got into the clay. She really enjoyed the clay, she told me. So I think that just released a lot of tension in people that thought, I can't do that. And I think just with everybody here and seeing their own peers
So
doing
many people
things.
getting involved, I think, helped a lot. There was
Yeah. Then they
big
were-
groups, and everybody was doing it, whether they could or not. And some people, you know, did a great job, and others were it just turned out really good. Everybody tried.
And people were
Everybody
trying to
really-
help other people, and it was just really good.
And of course, they always talk about it afterwards, though.
So it
for
lasts
days.
farther than the actual time.
Oh yeah.
Oh, yes. This was the whole hope, Jack, was that this could be continued. It would give us ideas. Tammy and I would give all these other health professionals that came ideas of how they could do, how we could enlarge, how we could help each other. The glazing was amazing for them to see the color that they put on there and then to see it after it was
They were
fired.
thrilled when they were done. They
Yeah.
couldn't believe they were the same, what they had been scribbling on
Yeah.
or something before or something.
You know,
that
because
really
when
turned
you're
out great.
glazing something, there's no color to it hardly. It doesn't look like anything, and they'd say, oh, you know. But once they saw them, they've been really
Yeah.
excited about it.
piece of plastic, which is
Yeah, do you remember that? Big parachute. Yes, they did. It was one, wasn't it?
people who are in the chairs can hold on to a plastic, and as you're being pushed around, you can move your arms and your back and your body, and we'll fill up the room with these, with the wind.
Yeah, yes.
We don't, you can just go like this, you don't have to be.
You want to try to make one of those float?
How do you do?
Oh, just move it. We'll go get one.
There you go, right, one hand. You can move it all around.
There you go,
Okay. Hang on, this in here, this in here.
Well, you can
If you kind of move your arms, it kind of floats.
You can have one too. You got one? Hold on, one end.
There. See? Not as good as the parachute, though, huh?